I'd like to talk a little bit about my father, who was a fabulous man. And Kent just loved him. He said he was more of a father to him than his own father, but that's not surprising. Anyway, my father was very gentle, very quiet, had a raging temper. When you got it going, if you got him mad, look out. Anyway, he was good at almost everything he tried, and he was a good carpenter, and he could fix anything. He came back from out west very young and lived with his father and his stepmother, and the usual story, the stepmother was very cruel to he and his brother, and they finally got old enough to move out of the house. They were treated pretty much like slaves. Did all the work. And I guess mostly that's what kids did back in that time, back in the late 30s, early 40s. Well, it was before that for him. It would have been in the 20s, during and after the war, I guess, the First World War. Anyway, he used to get beaten pretty roundly by his dad, who was, as I recall, my great-grandfather, a short, miserable-faced, I think of it as an old, gnarly man. And
do you know his name at all?
I don't know anything other than he was a farmer. And he was very unfriendly. But thinking of the rest of the people, I knew his brother, my uncle, who was just the opposite. He was really, really a sweet man, very, very religious. Gave me when he was in his late 90s, he gave me a family Bible, which I still kind of treasure. He died, Uncle Emil, died one winter night when he was walking home from church and got run over by a car. Kind of broke my heart. Anyway, my father, I don't know the story behind this, but I do know that my father in 1932 went to jail for a length of time. And unfortunately, by the time I tried to find out anything about it, all I knew was that my mother told us one night we were living here in Newcastle, and we got her a little tipsy, and she said something about father being in prison. And of course, we all jumped to attention, and Kent nearly crawled down her throat trying to find out what was going on. What do you do? What do you do? Because Kent kind of liked that sort of thing.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Anyway, we tried to get Brad to find out, because Brad was studying to be a lawyer at the time, and Brad said it was still, how did he put it? Anyway, it was locked. You couldn't get in to see what it was. Well, then I got contacted by the son of the lumber camp that we lived in, and his wife who was the daughter of my mother's best friend in Arnstein. It would be Roy Rogerson and Millie Rogerson. It used to be Millie Kutchenrider. Anyway, beautiful girl. She was so beautiful. I said something to them about, I heard that my father was in prison, and they said, yeah. And I said, well, can you, what was he there for? I can't find out what he was there for, and now Mother's dead, and I'll never know. And we were actually talking on the phone at the time, and Roy said, well, we'll have to meet because I would never tell you this on the telephone. But he said, your father was not guilty. He took the rap for somebody else. He went to prison for somebody else. And anyway, he got out about a month, 3 months. He got out 3 months before my brother was born. And he married my mother as soon as he got out, and then my brother was born shortly after. So I'm not sure now whether I should say this on here or not, but I'm not sure whether my brother was my father's son.
Oh, you should definitely say that on here. If anywhere, it's...
Well, yeah, and actually, pretty much all of us have wondered that, because my brother and I are totally different. My brother's a lot like my mother, and I look like my mother, but I'm personality-wise more like my father.
I thought Uncle Kelly looks exactly like...
Pardon?
I thought Uncle Kelly looked exactly like your dad.
Oh, Uncle Kelly didn't even resemble my dad. Not that I could see, anyway.
Yeah,
But
I thought they looked exactly the same.
Anyway, that's being sort of speculated in with his 2 children and my children. Anyway, my dad was a great guy, and he came to Toronto when they came out of the camp. We moved out of the lumber camp because my brother was going into grade 8, and we had been taking government lessons in camp, where my mother, the government sent us school lessons, and my mother oversaw what we were doing. And we moved out and went to school. And my father went to work for a company in Toronto called the Robert Bury Lumber Company, which is still in existence, and they specialized in specialty woods, mahogany and teak and balsa, lots of really beautiful wood.
And that's close to where I lived, right?
Yes.
King and Dufferin?
Yes, it was right down where Ryan ended up living. You could probably throw a stone into their yard.
Yeah, and that was in Liberty Village, right?
Yeah. And so he worked there until he died in 1968. Well, 1967 in December, just after Christmas.
So what was he like? What did he like to do?
Oh, as I say, he was very quiet. And I don't think he really loved me. And I remember the only time he ever laid a hand on me or even spoke crossly to me was when he was trying to fix a radio, and I was climbing all over it and knocked something down, and he reached up and gave me a swat in the bottom. And I was so shocked that I wet my pants. And that fixed him. Oh my God, I don't think he really recovered from that. My mother kept saying to him, "Oh, shame on you, look what you did to him, or to her. Look what you did to her. How could you do that to your daughter?" And then I felt so sorry for my father. Anyway, as I say, he could fix anything. He taught Kent almost everything Kent knew in woodworking.
Oh, really? I didn't know that part.
Yeah.
Huh.
And mechanical stuff.
How old would Grandpa have been when they started to transfer that knowledge?
He died when he was 57. Grandpa would have been about 51
When he started learning.
when he started teaching Kent.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like when I met Kent.
Right.
I met Kent in 59. And Grandpa died in 59, 67. So that wasn't a lot of time.
59 to 67.
8 years.
But they got along really well.
Oh my God. They were like father and son. My dad and my brother didn't get along very well. And so it was really amazing how they bonded. My dad died of a massive heart attack. There'd been a really big snowstorm, and he had gone to work and he was coming home, and anyway, he didn't get here. We couldn't get hold of anybody. It was before Christmas, and my brother and my dad decided they would go looking for him. So they go walking down. We lived on Grey Lawn Crescent, and he was coming home from Dufferin, was it, Ryan?
Mm-hmm. King
Yeah.
Dufferin.
Downtown. And anyway, they went down Victoria Park and sort of along, and they met him walking up through this about a foot of snow that had come down, and he was almost dead from the effort of leaving the car and walking home. So, like, really tired. So they helped him and brought him home, and I can remember my mother getting him a tub of hot water, and I guess she made him a bath, a hot bath with Epsom salts and things, and made him hot soup. And anyway, I think it was too much for him, because about a week later he died of this massive heart attack.
Well, we're running out of space on the cards, so that's a sad way to leave it, but
It's a good way to leave it.
that's a good ending.